Tornado Wednesday night. An EF1 tornado has now been confirmed in LaSalle, just outside of Windsor. I'm Michelle Mackey. Let's bring you to what's happening now. Northeastern Ontario, we do have some areas currently under a tornado warning. This includes Timmins and Cochrane. This is associated with a supercell to the northeast of Timmins that's tracking east at about 50 kilometers an hour. If you live in a tornado warned region, you should get a little notification on the lower third of your television screen. You need to seek shelter immediately. Getting into a basement is probably a good idea. Meanwhile, in southern Ontario, we did have some severe thunderstorm warnings. They have all now dropped, and we're still dealing with some watches, Delhi, Hamilton towards St. Catharines, due to this weakening line of thunderstorms. It is losing a little bit of its strength as it continues to track east. But I do want to direct your attention just to the north of Waterloo, where we've had a couple of pop-up showers and thunderstorms, but they are fairly weak in nature. Earlier today near Waterloo, this was the scene. Towering cumulonimbus clouds, indicative of a thunderstorm. Also a shelf cloud rolling in off the water in Stoney Creek, Ontario. Love to see your photos and videos. If you want to upload them on social media, just use the hashtag #ONStorm so we can find them and potentially put them on TV. So here's the thunderstorm risk area for the rest of this evening. It does extend into southern Quebec, and the trigger is this cold front that's moving through. It's acting as the lifting mechanism because we have so much heat and humidity. It's a clash of air masses. In the wake of this cold front, conditions pretty nice for Friday. However, it's going to be another hot one in southern Ontario with humidex values into the mid-30s. The same thing goes into southern Quebec and Atlantic Canada as well, at least the Maritimes, Moncton feeling like 35. But the same cold front that's moving through Ontario and Quebec is going to move through the Maritimes on Friday. We could see some thunderstorms in New Brunswick, likely just some showers for PEI and Nova Scotia, and rain pushing west to east from Friday into Saturday across Newfoundland. Right now, we head outside to Natish with a recap of the storms in southwestern Ontario. And Environment Canada has now confirmed that tornado, given it a rating as well as an EF1. A second tornado also confirmed in Windsor from last night, a high-end EF2. I'm Michelle Mackey. We're currently dealing with some tornado warnings in northeastern Ontario. This is associated with a supercell, this one here, tracking east at about 50 kilometers an hour. Timmins, Cochrane, Iroquois Falls, all included in the tornado warning. This is a serious situation. You need to seek shelter immediately. In southern Ontario, the severe thunderstorm warnings have now dropped. Still some watches in place from Hamilton towards St. Catharines, down towards Delhi as well. Those thunderstorms continuing to move east, weakening as they do so. I do want to direct your attention just to the north of Waterloo. That's where we did have a cell that was producing some thunderstorms, but it has since weakened as it tracks to the southeast. Earlier today near Woodstock, here's a look at what the skies looked like. Dark, ominous in the distance. This near Waterloo, those towering cumulonimbus clouds associated with thunderstorms evident in this photo. Love to see your photos and videos, but only if it is safe for you to do so. So here's the thunderstorm risk area for the rest of this evening. It includes eastern Ontario into southern Quebec. We are thinking these should be non-severe, but even non-severe thunderstorms can produce lightning, and lightning is always severe. In the wake of this cold front, we have a clearing trend into Friday. That cold front, by the way, is giving us the lift for these thunderstorms. The cold front isn't going to cool things down, though, that's for sure. Humidex values still in the mid-30s for much of Quebec, Ontario, and in Atlantic Canada, the Maritimes, especially Moncton, you're feeling like 35, so it's a hot one for you as well. But for the Maritimes, that same cold front is going to be sliding through, and this means some isolated showers expected for much of the region, and thunderstorms are possible as well. Rain should be heaviest in Newfoundland throughout the day, working west to east, reaching the Avalon by the time we get to Friday night. Stay with us here at the Weather Network. We'll get you to your forecast in Western Canada, plus we take you stateside to recap. We have picked up between about 80 and 100 millimeters of rain. So really no surprise, Kim, that we did have some localized flooding. But let's take you to northeastern Ontario, where it's a tornado warning that's top of the list.
Yep, this time it's Timmins, Cochrane, Iroquois Falls under tornado warning. First, the severe thunderstorm warnings in purple. That's our tornado warning as this cell, which has some rotation on it, we can tell from the radar, continues to push eastward.
All of the severe thunderstorm watches and warnings in southern Ontario have now dropped, so that's some good news. Still going to be dealing with some showers and probably some rumbles of thunder in the Niagara region, but for the most part, clearing out and looking pretty good for tomorrow.
Yes. Cooling down, but not quite yet. Temperatures are going to take a while. We've been dealing with a lot of heat and humidity. This is along the cold front, but it'll be a while before temperatures actually drop off at this point in time. Let's take a look at Mississauga now. 80 to 100 millimeters, and localized flooding can happen extremely quickly, which was the case in the Cambridge area. Thunderstorm watches starting to drop off. This is our risk map for the evening along that front, but for the most part, the most severe weather, at least in the south, is over, but we're still dealing with that storm in the north.
So here's a look at what happens in the wake of that cold front. We have high pressure sliding into southern Ontario. Still the risk of some isolated showers to the north with the trough in play. But as we were talking about, the humidex is still going to be a hot one. Feeling like the mid-30s for many, not just in Ontario, but Quebec and the Maritimes as well.
Yeah, the heat continues. Late August, we're heading towards the final weekend of the month, but it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like summer is winding down. I think, Michelle, the only thing I can tell is that the sun is setting a little bit earlier every night, but it doesn't feel any more cool, and these are the temperatures we're expecting even through Atlantic Canada on Friday.
Yeah, take a look at this. Moncton feeling like 35, but you too are at risk of some active weather. The same cold front moving through Ontario and Quebec, going to be sliding through the Maritimes. We're watching rain in Newfoundland as well, spreading west to east, and by the time we get to Friday evening, the Avalon getting into some of that rainfall.
Yeah, it's not great timing when the rain comes on the weekend. I know you are still at a bit of a deficit in the Maritimes, and you can use the rain, but it's for the weekend, so it's unfortunate. Temperatures in the prairies, a whole different story, Michelle. We're talking about fall-like temperatures there.
Yeah, well below seasonal, but because those temperatures are a little bit cool, the thunderstorms that we've been dealing with haven't been quite as severe. Meanwhile, in Vancouver, the heat, not a bad way to spend a summer afternoon, I suppose.
I don't know. I get a little bit creeped out by that. I don't know. I never think that water is a good thing. But anyway, yeah, it's fun for kids. Yeah, it's terrible. Just don't put your face in it, children. I'd be out there as the weird neighbor lady. Get inside. Okay, so we have, settle down. Severe thunderstorm warnings. Tornado warning. We just had a tweet out of Timmins because the cell is well to your north, but the warned area, when Environment Canada does this, they have to have a huge area that is already in the warning. So this is a predetermined area on the map that EC warns. So even though you're in Timmins and sky is clear for the most part, the cell itself is to the north. You are in the warned area. And
we've seen some thunderstorm warnings associated with that cell slide into the Quebec border, so we'll continue to follow that. But good news for southern Ontario. All of the watches and warnings for thunderstorms now dropped.
Okay, and not before, though. We saw that heavy rain in Cambridge, 80 to 100 millimeters. Not everybody saw that kind of precipitation, but for the most part, the thunder, lightning, everything has calmed down significantly. We can see that the front has pushed farther to the south. Let's take a look at KISS.
So let's bring you back to Ontario. In the wake of that cold front, Friday is shaping up to be a pretty good day for the Great Lakes Basin.
Yeah, we're looking at clear skies, a more stable air mass now. You won't have to worry too much about thunderstorms, but the warmth is still in play. We still have a boundary that's helping to usher up that southerly flow, so it won't be until late day Friday and as we get into the weekend that we'll see a drop in that humidity specifically.
Yeah, exactly. Saturday you'll feel some relief finally, but before we get there, it'll be feeling like the mid-30s, not just for southern Ontario, but into southern Quebec and the Maritimes as well.
Yeah, how often do we see a 31 humidex this late in August in Halifax and in Charlottetown, 35 in Moncton, even St. John's 24, feeling like 28. Normal daytime highs this time of year around 20 degrees for St. John's, so a few more bonus warm days for the Avalon Peninsula.
We are talking about some rainy conditions, however, not a total washout for the Maritimes. A cold front, same one moving through Quebec and Ontario, moves through Friday, and we could see some thunderstorms up towards New Brunswick, scattered showers elsewhere. Here's your local forecast. Stay here.
North and in the south, things have calmed down significantly in southern Ontario, Michelle, but the north, we still have a pretty potent cell right now.
Yeah, it is a tornado warned cell. It's to the northeast of Timmins. If you look closely at this radar, you can see those purples. So radar is indicating some rotation. It is a supercell, and it's making its way east at about 50 kilometers an hour towards the Quebec border, and we have seen some of those severe thunderstorm warnings make their way across the border.
Yeah, the warnings too are in places like Smooth Rock Falls and in Kapuskasing too in the north. In the south, we had the cold front draped along the lower Great Lakes, dropping huge amounts of rain in the Cambridge area, but severe thunderstorm watches and warnings have all come to an end. We're looking at a much calmer evening now.
Okay, let's show you what it looked like earlier today.
Incredible images coming out of the Kitchener area.
Yeah, that's a video that really indicates why you should never drive through floodwaters. It doesn't take much to stall a car, let alone float a car.
Yeah.
So there's the cold front that's been triggering all of this active weather. But Kim, into tomorrow, clearing out, clear skies, but the humidity still going to be quite high.
I know. I'm no fan of it at this point in time. Temperatures remain on the warm side on Friday. Despite the passage of the cold front, we still have some warm air being ushered in from the south. But as the day goes on, by late day Friday and certainly into Saturday, that's when we'll get that cooler, fresher air mass.
Relief is on the way, but before we get there, here's a look at what it's going to be feeling like. Mid-30s from southern Ontario into Quebec and for the Maritimes as well. It's not often, we were talking about this earlier, that we see places like Halifax feeling like 31.
Not this late in the season, at least.
No.
My goodness. Halifax has had one day this summer of 30 degrees. That was July the 16th. But it's not like you're going to hit that actual temperature, but the humidex will be in the 30s. So there's our scattered showers for Newfoundland and our approaching cold front, the same one responsible for that stormy weather in northern Ontario and in the south as well.
Let's switch gears and take it if a change is coming to BC.
Yep, we're going to get some cooler temperatures to be sure. Also some rain. Most of the rain falling in the BC interior and on the other side of the Rockies, the coast. Best risk of showers will be Sunday.
That's right, and we are going to see temperatures cool down as well through the west and Alberta. Here's a look at what it'll be feeling like Friday. Right now, your local forecast. Well, lucky you doing some traveling. Let's get into your forecast conditions across the country. If you're heading from coast to coast, it's going to be a little bit unsettled in Atlantic Canada. A nice day on the west coast. Temperatures are set to take a bit of a cool down, though, into this weekend for BC. We'll have details on that through the hour here on the Weather Network. Here's a look at the west. If you're heading stateside, Seattle at 30. We do have some red flag warnings from the west coast of Washington down towards Oregon due to critical fire conditions, a little bit active along the Gulf. Safe travels.